Profit with me from Division of Budget and Department of Administration. So the consensus revenue estimating group met earlier today and revised the estimate for fiscal year 2025 and issued a new initial estimate for fiscal year 2026. Those memos have been passed out and will be, or if not already are, available on our KLRD website. For fiscal year 2025, the total receipt estimate is $9.732 billion, which represents a decrease of $59.8 million or 0.6% relative to the adjusted spring estimate, and a decrease of $407.8 million or 4% relative to the final numbers of the fiscal year 2024 actual receipts. For fiscal year 2026, the total receipt estimate is $9.846 billion. This represents an increase of $114.1 million or 1.2% above the newly revised fiscal year 2025 estimate. The meetings this fall were what we kind of termed as deja vu. A lot of the same things that we talked about in the spring, we talked about in the fall. Last spring, we mentioned that both state receipts and the state economy are stable. That is relatively the same. There are still several risks that could impact the state's present course, and those risks are still applicable. Risks to the economy include persistent elevated inflation, sustained high interest rates, geopolitical risks spanning the globe and its potential impact on various commodity prices, and price declines in many agricultural commodities that began back in 2023. There's a very small revision to the current year estimates. Again, shouldn't be any surprise for tax-only receipts. There was less than 0.1% off of expectations through 4 months of the fiscal year, and the modest decline in receipt expectations reflect a modest reduction of the economic forecast. So for the economic forecast for 2024, the inflation was decreased from 3% to 2.5%. The real Kansas gross domestic product, or GDP, was decreased from 2.4% to 2.2%. And the nominal GDP was decreased from 5.4% to 4.7%. For calendar year 2025, the inflation was decreased from 2.5% to 2.3%. Real GDP was decreased from 2.2 to 2.1%, and nominal Kansas GDP was decreased from 4.7 to 4.4%. And then for calendar year 26, the inflation was decreased from 2.4% to 2.2%. Real GDP was held steady at 2%, and nominal Kansas GDP was decreased from 4.4 to 4.2%. As far as employment for Kansas jobs rose 20,500 over the year, which represents a growth of 1.4%. Since the spring estimate, the labor supply and demand have moved closer together, but job openings continue to exceed the number of unemployed individuals. Real hourly earnings have had a strong year of growth at 3.7%, but are still not level with prior years from the inflation in 2021 and 2022. For agriculture, we still have worries over drought conditions, which seem to have gotten a little worse over most of the state. There have been price declines in many agricultural commodities, and farm financial conditions have deteriorated over the past year. In oil and gas, forecasted levels for energy production reflect little change since the spring estimate. while expected prices are lower now. The price per barrel of crude oil was forecasted at 62% for 2025, down from $70 a barrel, and then the spring estimate is 50. That's all right. The spring estimate is $58 for fiscal year 2026, up from $65 during the spring estimate. The price per 1,000 cubic feet of natural gas was forecasted at $1.75 for 25, down from $2.35 at the spring estimate and $2.60 for fiscal year 26, down from $3.25 at the spring estimate. Both oil and gas production are expected to continue the trend decline in the state. As far as manufacturing, it is stable. We are still looking at aviation within the state. And again, while labor disputes in the aviation manufacturing sector that pose concerns through the early fall have now been resolved. Concerns about the impact on the Kansas economy from Boeing's acquisition of Spirit Aerosystems remains. No, we're good. We're good. Okay, for tax policy changes, the estimates include the impact of current law and current interpretation. Accordingly, they do fully incorporate the revenue impacts of the special session Senate Bill 1. They do not include any impact associated with speculated or proposed federal tax legislation. One key change that the group made relative to the previous assumptions related to the changes in law is to eliminate the assumed implications of the second corporate income tax reduction due to the Integra project is not continued as an Apex project. Additionally, investment tax credits associated with the Integra project have been removed from the estimates. In closing, as always, we want to thank all of the agencies that helped with the estimating process in the many meetings. Department of Revenue, the Department of Agriculture, Commerce, Labor, the Pooled Money Investment Board, the insurance company, the university economists from KU, K-State, and Wichita, and several other agencies. And most importantly, I would like to thank the Division of Budget for all of their help and work. I have no other questions. Adam, if you have anything?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Appreciate the overview there. It's a very thorough and robust overview. I certainly appreciate having all the economic indicators and all the changes. Appreciate that. Also appreciate the partnership with KLRD. You guys are you're a tough cookie, and you got the Cookie Corporation over here, and appreciate you guys working with us on that. And it's always a fun time to, in all seriousness, get in the room and have a meeting of the minds and hearing the different points of view. And I think we've arrived at estimates that will serve, policymakers. The governor, she builds her budget, and the legislature, as they build upon that during session, and should come to a good conclusion here. So appreciate that, and all the literally dozens of people that we have in the meetings throughout the weeks. If there's nothing else, I guess with that, time's yours. If there's any questions.
Yes, we'll open it up to questions. Did an excellent job.
It's late on a Friday.
It is. Okay. Meeting adjourned.